Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. So excited to be here with you today. And for those of you that don't know me, welcome. I'm Leslie Bytel, business strategist and mentor specifically for health professionals in private practice. And if you find yourself this January 2024 feeling overwhelmed by your workload, I know a lot of you can relate to just really kind of feeling like you're struggling with all these different responsibilities in your private practice. You are definitely in the right place because today I'm so excited. We are going to be talking with Rita Esther from Delegate and Accelerate. And we're going to be talking about time management and delegation for busy health professionals in private practice. So, really looking forward to my conversation with Rita. And specifically, let me give you an overview of a few of the things you're going to walk away with. Number one, you're going to learn practical strategies to optimize your time and boost productivity. You'll learn expert tips on how to delegate tasks efficiently without compromising quality and how to strike a balance between your professional and personal life. So, really good stuff for you in store for you today. So, Rita, welcome. So excited to have you. Let's
Hey.
kick things off. If you would share a little bit about your backstory.
Sure. I'm the founder of Delegate and Accelerate. We are a full service virtual assistant agency, and we specialize in supporting health and wellness professionals in private practice. I started my business initially in 2014 as a solo, service provider, and quickly outgrew that business model. So now I have a team of 8 people that helps me deliver all of our deliverables to our clients, and we love doing that. Before that, I worked for 12 years as a marketing director in a Fortune 500 company, which I absolutely loved, but my lifestyle kind of changed. So I decided to venture out on my own.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of you guys may already know me if you've worked with Leslie in any of her courses, or if you're part of the Income Accelerator. I am often a guest expert in some of Leslie's courses and also host the monthly Tech Talk in Leslie's Income Accelerator Mastermind.
Absolutely. So Rita she's kind of my right arm, so to speak, inside of my own business. So many of you know Rita. I'm so excited that we have a chance to talk today and specifically about this important topic because I know for sure that there is a lot of overwhelm. And it's just so challenging with all the tasks that are involved in running a private practice. So, really looking forward to digging into this today. So, let's kick things off with a conversation around some common misconceptions. So, Rita, what would you say? What are some of those misconceptions that you yourself have encountered about delegation? And again, we're looking specifically in the health and nutrition industries.
Sure. I know you're asking specifically about health and wellness, but just overall, I think that the biggest misconception is that nobody can do what you do. Now, there are some things that we can't do for you. We can't be you. We can't coach your client. We can't we can't show up for client calls and be you. But there's so many things that we can do in the background so that you can do those things that only you can do. So I think that's the biggest misconception across the board, but especially when it comes to health and wellness professionals, because commonly come against like, well, I don't want to share people's private information, that sort of thing, because of like HIPAA laws. But it would be no different than if you were hiring someone in a brick and mortar store. If you had a clinic, a brick and mortar clinic, if someone is helping you behind the scenes while you are client facing, they're going to have access to those same things that we would have virtually. So I think that's the number one thing, is that nobody else can do this. I'm the only one that can, answer my emails, write social media posts, that sort of thing.
Oh my gosh. And I can so relate to that. And I'll just share, and Rita, you probably know this story, but case in point is the production of this Facebook Live show. So, I've been doing this show for about 4 years now. And probably for the first at least 1 to 2 years, I did everything myself, right? I invited the guests, I communicated, I confirmed, like I even created the graphics, like everything. I did it like pretty much every weekend. And I do remember having a conversation with Abby, my virtual assistant, and she was really insistent that we just give it a try. Like I hand over and I delegate this pretty big weekly project to my team. And I remember saying, Abby, it's just not possible. I just don't
Ah,
think it's possible. Um,
yes. And I remember the first couple of weeks, you were like, Rita, I have my Sundays back. Because you used to spend your entire Sunday
I
prepping for this
did.
show.
I did. I did. I really did. And I seriously, guys, I really deep in my heart thought, all right, well, we'll kind of see how it goes, but I really doubt they can do what I'm doing here, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And I had like all these blocks in my head about why it wasn't going to work. And it's just so interesting. And then lo and behold, they were right. Rita
Yeah.
and Abby were right. And I got my Sundays back, which was the best part because seriously,
Right.
I spent every weekend, a big chunk of my Sunday every single week working on putting the show together. So, moral to the story is yeah, even if you think it's not possible, it probably is.
Yeah.
Obviously there are things that you can't delegate, right? Like obviously, but I would say for the most part, a lot of the organizational tasks, anything except showing up as you is delegatable,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So,
I
um,
agree.
what would
And
you
another,
say about the oh, yeah, go ahead. I was gonna ask about privacy, but say what you were gonna say
I was going
first.
to say that another misconception that I often see is people often think that if they have to hire someone to help,
Hmm.
that it's a sign of weakness. And I think that this
Oh,
is more specific to the women that I work with, which I do
okay.
primarily work with women, but they're like, we've been, I don't know, brainwashed into thinking that we have to be like hashtag boss babe and do it all ourselves and blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And just the fact that they do need help, that they can't do it all themselves. A lot of times when someone hires us, we are their first hire. And they're like, well, I've been doing all of this and that and the other. And I stay up till, 2 o'clock in the morning to make this happen. And I work all day Sunday to, deliver this. And they almost wear that as a badge of honor
Mhm.
instead of realizing that they're burning themselves out. So it's not a sign of weakness.
Well, and I would add to that, it's not a good use of your time. Right? It is just not a good use of your time and it limits your ability to grow the business, right? So, really, ideally, what we air quotes here should be doing is driving the business, right?
Mhm.
And not doing tasks that can be delegated to a team. So I would even go so far to say that, I mean, it's a really smart business decision to delegate the tasks that you can delegate so that you can focus on what only you can do, right?
Mhm.
So really important. So I did want to ask read a little bit more about the privacy.
Sure.
So, because I have heard that as well, there's a lot of, fear around HIPAA and, fear around, like the EMR being accessible by,
Right.
outside contractors and things like that. So, what do you have to say about that?
Sure. And of course, I am no lawyer and I don't understand, every state's different in their
Right.
requirement from what I understand, even though HIPAA is a nationwide thing. What I would suggest is number one, make sure that you have a rock solid contract, an NDA with your service provider. I know that one of the people that Leslie recommends is Lisa Fraley for legal templates. So maybe look into that. Um, and then secondly, from what I understand, again, I am not a lawyer. So, but from what I understand, the legally, it's no different than if you were to hire me to work in your office with you,
Right.
no different than the same protocols that you would have in place if it were in person versus online. Same protocols. So whatever paperwork you would have an in-person employee sign, then you would have us sign.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I think the moral to the story is please don't let that hold you back,
Like,
right? I mean, think about like you go to a doctor's office, think about all the employees there, right? Like it really is kind of the same thing. So, but you do want to have, I would check in with a lawyer, an attorney,
no.
and just make sure that you've got a contract in place that's going to cover you.
And if you're just dipping your toes into this, like your first time, then maybe start off with something that doesn't share client information
Right.
that would violate HIPAA privacy rules. So there's a lot of other things you can get help with that aren't going to violate that, just to kind of ease your fears and ease into the relationship with that service provider.
Great. Great idea there. Okay, so let's talk about what is that first task or role that you recommend our health professionals listening today consider outsourcing? Someone that's maybe brand new to the whole concept and, just kind of wants to dip their toe into this process. What would you delegate first?
So I think that that's really individual for each person. In general, as a rule, it's usually going to be either content creation for social media or like managing your inbox, scheduling
Mhm.
appointments, that sort of admin task. But a really good way to see like what for you individually is the best thing is, what do you consistently put off or procrastinate on? Like what's that thing that's on your to-do list that you just don't want to get to, or you put off to the next day and you just dread doing it? Like how would that feel if you could just take that off your plate? Whatever that
Right.
thing is, do that. But as a general rule, it's usually social media, managing your inbox, or scheduling clients.
Hmm. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. So, just having that help in
Mhm.
managing your calendar, managing all the client appointments, cancellations, reschedules. If you're working in programs and packages, keeping track of how many sessions your clients have taken, keeping
Yes.
track of have they actually scheduled, right? All of those things
Mhm.
can be incredibly helpful and really will free you up. And I would agree, social media oftentimes is, oh, it's one of those things. It's kind of a necessary thing that we need to do. But quite often, for many health professionals, really not our favorite thing, right? So that can be a really good thing to delegate as well.
Yes, definitely.
What would you say some of the common mistakes are that practitioners may tend to make when kind of starting the process of outsourcing?
I think one of the biggest mistakes, and maybe this falls under the misconceptions category, is that they think that it has to be all or nothing, that they think that
Mm.
either they need someone 40 hours a week or they don't get any help at all. So one of the biggest mistakes is putting
Oh,
it off until you think that you have 40 hours a week worth of work to hand off to someone, when the
yeah.
fact is you can actually hire somebody for like an hour a day, like five
Okay.
hours a week. Um, the next biggest mistake that I see is not setting clear expectations. Like you can't just say, can you manage my inbox? You need to be specific about, can you, check my email every morning at 8 a.m. and, you know, pro- uh, make a note of which emails are important so that I can, whenever I arrive at my desk at 9 a.m., all I have to look at is four emails, like delete all the spam, you know, let me know which emails need my personal attention, et cetera, et cetera. Like give them an SOP. And it doesn't have to be a complicated SOP, but like
Mhm.
exactly what it means to check your email, or exactly what it means to onboard a client. Send this paperwork, make sure this contract is signed, double check that the invoice is paid. Those step by steps. So you can't expect them to read your mind.
Mm.
A good way to do that is to literally just record yourself doing whatever those things are and then
Uh-huh.
sending them that recording. There's some software that can help make that a little easier. I don't want to get into all
Mhm.
that, but there's ways to simplify that, but just to really have clear expectations and guidelines and deadlines.
Okay. Yeah. So really, I think what we're getting at here are SOPs, standard operating procedures, right? And just being really, really specific. which is a good idea anyway, right? Because, hey, if your virtual assistant or, someone on your team, they get sick, you have to have someone else kind of step in to take over, even if it's short term. It's going to be really, really helpful if you've got SOPs in place,
For
right?
sure.
So definitely something that is highly recommended. Okay. Any other recommendations on how we can avoid some of those common pitfalls?
I think also to focus on not just clearing off your to-do list, but focus on creating a relationship. And even if it's just you and one other person, having a sense of culture within your business
Hmm.
where like we prioritize X, Y, and Z. So I know that I've worked with Leslie for a long time. I know that she prioritizes client communications. She wants people to know exactly where they are with everything. She wants them to have a reminder of like, hey, this appointment is coming up, a follow up afterwards, after any course or whatever. What can we do to make it better, et cetera, et cetera, for them to really know your values and for you to create that sense of teamwork and not just, oh, this is that person that helps move my stuff. Like, um, we don't want to treat them like they're, like the gardener or something like, oh, that's just the gardener. Like for
Right.
real, treat them like people. And if you can develop that, they will advocate for you. They will be like, I've got Leslie's back. Let somebody tell me something bad about Leslie. Like I love working with her. And Leslie, I hope, knows that no matter what, I will always do my best to help
Yep.
her business grow because we're in it together. She's the boss and I'm behind the scenes. But whenever you can develop that kind of relationship with someone, that's priceless, in my
It
opinion.
really is. Yeah. And I would just say, one way there's a lot of ways you can accomplish that, right? That sense of trust and, I mean, it really is a trusting kind of relationship. But I would and just that sense of, I don't know, teamwork is by having a weekly meeting,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I will say that in the past, I don't know if I put as much emphasis on that, right? In terms of prioritizing. I think in my head, I used to think, oh, I can just email the person, right? And so that's probably not the best approach. So even if you're paying for your team members' time, I still think a weekly meeting is going to be advantageous. And if not a
Yes.
weekly meeting, at minimum, a monthly meeting,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So it just really helps to create that sense of, yeah, we're all in this together. What are we working on? Prioritizing. And quite frankly, we come up with some really pretty kick-ass ideas, don't we, Rita?
I think so.
When
Yeah. I look forward to our meetings.
yeah, when we are having these meetings. So it
And
really
especially
does
if you
nurture.
if you're hiring multiple service providers that aren't all under one umbrella, like, obviously we have my whole team, but as far as Leslie goes, she only deals with me, but she also has other people that are on her team.
Mhm.
And before we started having regular meetings, we were all kind of pulling our own cart, so to speak.
Yeah.
And now that we have weekly meetings, like we are all pulling the same cart in the same direction. And it's really just helped create that cohesive sense of we're in this together, we're all working together, instead of like, oh, well, why does she get to do that and not me? And a little bit of
It's really
whatever.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really I just think it's a super important and it really positions you as the leader as well, right? So yeah, so that's, interesting topic that we could delve into a lot more, but just, you stepping in as the leader is going to be really important, even if it's one person on your team, right? I think
Yes.
that becomes especially more important as you add different people to take on different tasks and roles in the business. All right, so we've talked about, common pitfalls and, how to avoid those mistakes. So here's the kind of the question of the day. How do you find the right people? where do you go? Like, what does that process look like? I think many health professionals would like to kind of dip their toe and bring someone on board. Again, everybody remember, it's not all or nothing. It doesn't have to be like, 40 hours a week or nothing. I would not look at it that way. Instead, I would just even consider, like 5 hours a week, right?
Great place to
Easy.
start. Great place to
So
start.
yeah, where would you start?
When it comes to finding people, that's really tricky. I would first of all recommend asking for recommendations from your colleagues, from your mentors, from people that you trust their opinions. Not, excuse me, not in like a VA group and just go in there like, hey, who would you recommend for a VA? You're gonna have like thousands of people like, pick me, pick me.
Yeah.
But if you're in a mastermind group, for example, like
Mhm.
Leslie's Income Accelerator Mastermind, where it's a group of people who they are going to give you their genuine, honest opinions or on referrals, or a business group, or you're talking to your coach or your mentor, ask them first. That's where you're going to get your best recommendations. The second place that I would look is in professional Facebook groups. Yes, Facebook, even if you don't like Facebook, but the actual Facebook groups for dietitians. And instead, or whatever it is that you do, and instead of again posting something, use that little search icon and search for people talking about it and see who people recommended already, and then go to their profile, like do a little snooping and
Yeah.
see. The worst place, in my opinion, is any of the like Fiverr or Upwork or any place like that where people can oftentimes, very often, they'll put a picture of somebody that like maybe looks like me and they're like blah blah blah, and then come to find out it's like this team that's halfway across the world that's only getting paid maybe $3 an hour,
Mm.
whereas the person on Fiverr is saying like it's $40 an hour, and it's a whole big thing. Like there are these farms, like literally farms of
Mm.
people who work in these, I've seen pictures, who work in these buildings. They don't really know what they're doing. It's a scam, and that's the worst place. And I
Mm.
come across so many people who that was their first experience in trying to hire a team or to delegate or to outsource, and they're kind of turned off on it because like, oh, I got kind of scammed by these people. But that's the worst place to look. I'm not saying that those places don't have good talent, but it's the worst place. So ask for referrals first.
Mhm.
Second, snoop in other Facebook groups, like with people who do what you do, not just like general Facebook groups. And worst case scenario, maybe email Leslie and say, hey, who do you recommend? Like ask
Okay.
someone that you trust.
Yeah. 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 I quite frankly have always gone the referral route.
Mhm.
And the one time I didn't work out. So go figure, right? Yeah. So I always find that, just asking and getting a good referral is probably your best bet. And I will say the other option, just to kind of throw another one in, if you guys are not part of my Facebook group, the Integrative Functional Nutrition Dietitian group, I would recommend joining. Even if you're not a nutritionist or dietitian per se, there's a lot of other kind of, integrative functional practitioners in that group. But the thing that's really nice about that group is it's very, very active. And if you want to get a recommendation, my hunch is that if you do a post in there asking, you'll get what you're looking for.
Mhm.
So join that group. It's really a great group. It's very kind of clinically oriented, but it's very active. And I think if you do a post and ask, hey, does anyone have a virtual assistant or anything like that, I think you'll get some recommendations. All
For
right,
sure.
awesome. So tell us about this asset, this free download that you have for us.
Sure. It's called The Art of Outsourcing. And it's really help you identify like what you need to outsource, kind of what your budget could be, um, to help you free up your time and focus on what you do best.
Mhm.
So if you go to lesliebytel.com/delegate, it's a free download. It's how many pages is this PDF? Um, 17 page.
Whoa.
There's a lot of room for you to like brainstorm and write. So there's plenty of room
Okay.
for you to figure out, what's really important to you, what your core values are, what you're looking for as a partner, as a teammate, as someone that you want to work closely with,
Okay.
and figure out, identify your most important things for you to delegate first so that you can be more effective and strategic in your business. That's really the biggest benefit that I see when people hire someone like myself, is they suddenly have the clarity in the mental space to be much more strategic with their business instead of
Okay.
flying by the seat of their pants. So this PDF is designed to help you get real clear and strategic.
Okay. All right. So again, the URL is lesliebytel.com/, what's the second part?
Delegate.
Delegate. Okay, easy enough. lesliebytel.com/delegate. It sounds like that is going to be a really helpful asset. And I think it's going to help you to get this ball rolling, right? So that at the end of the day, what are we looking for? We got to free up some of your time, right? So that you have time to grow the business, work in the business, and have a life, right? Like, think about how awesome it would be to get your weekends back. Like I got my Sunday back. I got to tell you,
Yes.
it not doing that, let me just say, it leads to burnout. It
Mhm.
really does. You only have so much, that you can hold in your brain at one time to focus on. And just being able to free up that, not only that time, but that brain space, it will set you free.
Yes.
And here's the big thing is it will allow you to focus on growing your business. So often we are stuck doing all these kind of menial tasks in the business that again, air quotes, should be delegating. And it prevents us from doing the things that are going to help grow the business, right? Like getting out there and networking,
Mhm.
meeting people, doing talks, looking for, places to do webinars and talks, all of those things that are going to contribute to your overall success. If we are constantly just bogged down with all these other tasks, let's be honest, you're not going to have time to grow the business, right? So
Agreed.
my suggestion, and that's why Rita and I picked this topic to kick off the new year, is let's free up your time and help you to grow the business. And Luke, sounds like Rocky has something to say on that note. He's saying yes, if you can hear him in the background. All right. Any final words of wisdom, Rita, as we start to wrap up?
Yes, I would like to say that if done right strategically, your virtual team will actually make you more money. Whenever,
Yes.
even if you are brand new and you don't have any clients left or any clients yet, if
Hmm.
you're brand new, let's just say you get someone part-time for like 250 a month. If you know every month that you've got to pay that person, it lights this fire subconsciously, like, I got to make this worth it. I better go get some clients. If
Yeah.
you know that you have an invoice coming at the first of every month for your team, then you're like, I better make this worth it. I better go get some clients. And it will stop you from procrastinating and really get you focused on doing what you started your business to do.
Right. Exactly. So very true. Yeah, you will end up being more profitable. You will end up making more money, right? It's like you're putting a stake in the ground saying, "Okay, got to do this." There's something really, really powerful about that mental process that occurs.
Yes.
And so anyway, you can tell we're both very passionate about this topic. Um, yeah, I mean, there's some like, when I think back to when I had my nutrition practice, I think about when did things really start to explode for me? Well, it's two things happened. Number one, and now this is back in the day, but I moved to an online calendar. Okay. I know that's like kind of like, oh, whatever, like everybody, but it's amazing. Some people are not quite there yet. And back then I made that decision. I think I lost my like I remember walking out of the health club and my calendar had dropped out of my bag and it was pouring rain and like, I'm like, okay, that's it. That's my sign. I got to move to an online calendar. Anyway, that completely freed me up because I wasn't like going back and forth with clients. And, I just knew like an error was about to happen, right? If I continued to try to manage my calendar without, it being online. And then the other thing for sure. So there were two things. The online calendar decision, like I gave up that sense of control that it gave me, false sense of control, I might add, and I hired a VA,
Mhm.
and it things just automatically fell into place, and my business really did explode at
The
that
same thing happened with
point on.
my business. I was a one-woman show for the first, I opened up my business in 2014 and till 2018 and a half, it was just me.
Uh-huh.
And I hired one person to help me. And then all of a sudden, I'm so busy, I need somebody else. And then I need
Yeah.
somebody else. But it was a long time that it was just me. And it's the same thing. Like every month, I know I've got to make XYZ dollars a
Yep.
month to meet my payroll. I better
Yep.
go make sure I got clients. So it works the same way for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Super interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
All right, guys. So we're gonna start to wrap up. I do want to remind you to download that free asset, that ebook that Rita talked about. It's called The Art of Outsourcing. And you can find that by going to lesliebytel.com/delegate. All right. So make sure you download that. Let's get you set up for a successful year. Um, and PS, would you like to talk a little bit, Rita, about our mastermind that you're a part of?
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
So, in case you don't know, Leslie has this wonderful mastermind called the Income Accelerator Mastermind. And what it is a small, close-knit community strictly for health and wellness professionals. There's a Facebook group that's private for us. We have 2 live calls a month. One call is with Leslie, and that's strategic coaching. I don't do strategy. I am not a strategist. Okay. But so all of those business growth sessions are done live with Leslie once
Mhm.
a month. And then once a month, so it's like every 2 weeks roughly, I also have my own live session with the mastermind group called Tech Talks. And it's an hour long and it's literally no holds barred. Whatever you need help with, I will help get you over that hump. Every month, I do have a scheduled topic, and we talk about things like SEO, graphics and design, social media, chat GPT, all of those types of things. But there's also time for you to ask any question, such as how do I make my email service provider work? Or how do I automate
Yes.
XYZ? How does Zapier work? And I will take the time to personally answer each of those questions. And then, of course, there is the private Facebook group where you're able to tag me for tech questions and tag Leslie for any strategy questions. And we're in there all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long Leslie's going to do this because I think that it is severely underpriced, but it's only $97 a month. So
Yeah.
that is a ton of value for
It
only
is.
100 bucks a month. I know that we have talked in our team meetings about that
Yes.
it's going to be raised probably at the end of the first quarter, maybe even as early as February. So if
Mhm.
that's something that's interesting for you, highly recommend you join it. Anybody who's in the IA or Income Accelerator
They
Mastermind,
love it.
tell you they absolutely love it. It is a great little community, and I love being a part of it.
Yeah. So, Rita, where should they go to sign up?
Sure, it is. Let me double check that I've got this. It's Income Accelerator Mastermind, but let me just double check. Income Accelerator Mastermind.com
Okay,
or
perfect.
lesliebytel.com/accelerate. They both go to the same place, but
Okay.
Income Accelerator Mastermind.com.
Okay. And of course, you guys can email me as well, Leslie@lesliebytel.com. All right. Would love to see you in the Income Accelerator Mastermind in 2024. And certainly, if you're at all interested, I would definitely jump in while the price is still below $100 a month,
Yeah,
right?
it's ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
2 live calls
Yeah.
plus the private Facebook group, plus like not just like a group for you guys to connect, but where you can literally tag me or tag Leslie and like, how do I handle this situation? And within like a couple hours, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
unheard of. Unheard of.
It really is. It really is a great value. But we do it because, we want to support you. We do not want price to hold you back. That
Yep.
is the true reason. So grab your spot, email me if you have questions. Um, but I really do sincerely hope to see you in that group in January. All right, so we are going to wrap up for today. Thank you so
Awesome.
very much, Rita.
Thank
Really
you.
enjoyed always, as always, it's a pleasure. And
Yes.
thanks to our audience for joining us. If you guys have any questions, please post them and we will get back to you. And I hope everyone has an awesome rest of your day, a great week, and Happy New Year to
Yes.
everybody. All right. All right. Sounds good. We will talk to you all soon. Take good care and bye for now. See you next
Bye.
week.